Nothing beats a long and tireless day than a bath. After all, there are a lot of factions out there fighting each other to the death. But Mr. Doge is safe and sound in his nice, beautiful city. Oh, god damn it, what now? Huh. What's this? Dear Mrs. McDonald, I hope this letter finds you well. Your child is sick and needs your immediate attention. We would normally handle this matter, but the situation is urgent. As we do not have telephone service, you will need to appear in person. In peace of Christ, Mother Apollina? Huh. Well, I know what this episode's gonna be. Hi, welcome to Doge Talk, where we What the freak? Why am I in the dark? What the freak? Bro, I'm dead!
Okay, get out! What the freak is happening? I'm in the game.
What the fuck? Anyway, howdy folks, this is Mr. Doge, fanning the flames of your passion. Now today's topic is a bit different from our normal broadcast. Today we are going to talk about the horror masterpiece called Nun Massacre, aka Night of the Nun. Nun Massacre is a psychological horror game that is unlike any other horror game so far. Yeah, that's right, eat shit outlasting Five Nights at Freddy's. Aww. The Nun Massacre is what I believe to be the scariest horror game to exist so far. The reason I say this, ladies and gentlemen, is because many gamers who have played this game have not beaten the game, mostly because it is too terrifying to continue playing. Let me list their names. We got Mark Platter, Decepticon, Dashkin, Ash Speed, DX Army, Jessica Cox, 8-Bit Ryan, XQC, Vanzas, The Adam Show, Anzoka, Jojo, The Mofo, yep, that's all, brother, I got pretty now. And those are the popular ones. There are many gamers who are sworn never to come back to this game. This game has not only caused gamers to never play again, but also caused gamers to break their cameras.
God! Fuck, I'm tired of this shit. I'm done, I'm fucking done!
Cry. And even raise heart rates significantly. Now, before we go deep into this game, let's talk about something called analog horror. Have you ever picked up an old game cartridge or disc and put it into an old console? Well, once you turn on that TV and start the console up, you are greeted with graphics and music that are considered in your ears old school. This helps develop analog horror. It's kinda like picking up an old relic or finding some footage alongside the road. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am not an expert on this topic called analog horror, so I invited my friend Henry, who is developing a game that uses analog horror. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Henry. Hello, Henry. Nice to have you on the show.
Hello, Mr. Doge. My name is Henry, indeed. Or you can call me Kyle. You call me Kyle, but fucking, I don't give a shit what you call me. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of analog horror, and I'm currently developing an analog horror game myself.
So, Henry, what is analog horror?
Well, analog horror is a niche subgenre of horror fiction and an offshoot of the found footage film technique. Like, Notable analog horror works include Local 58, Gemini Home Entertainment, The Walton Files, and of course the Mandela Catalog. Analog horror is commonly characterized by low fidelity graphics, cryptic messages, and visual styles reminiscent of the late 20th century television, which is done to match the setting, as analog horror works are typically set between the 1960s and the 1990s. It's named analog horror because of its aesthetic incorporation of elements related to analog electronics such as analog television and VHS, the latter being an analog method of recording a video.
Thanks, Henry. Anyways, now go play Doom Eternal or something. Anyways, that was Analog Horror, whatever he said. If you want to check out his Game Fear, I don't fucking know, he didn't give me any information about that. But, let's get into the game, Nun Massacre. The story starts off with Mrs. McDonald taking a bath, then receiving a letter from the Catholic boarding school where her daughter, Janie, was staying at. Janie is said to be sick and that Mrs. McDonald should visit for Janie's overall health. So Mrs. McDonald goes to visit the Catholic boarding school, only to find the school to be what looks like abandoned. Mrs. McDonald then takes the effortless trip to go inside and find her daughter, Janie. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, this is not the full story, but just the beginning of the overall nightmare that will occur. So please be patient for the rest of the story. But for now, we're going to be talking about the shit. Tying in with analog horror, the game has a VHS filter that is optional but further adds to the game. Once the player is inside the boarding school, they can hear rain and thunder from the outside. As a player walks through the school, they can only rely on the windows for light, being low graphic making it more challenging. The player can look through the school and find a lighter to help them in the dark, but only to an extent. While the player continues throughout the school, they will find a tall nun, her white hood glowing within the dark, her eyes seeming to be plucked out of her sockets with blood, leaking out of her face, and if you stand too long to look, she then finds you. Hi, Mr. Doge, editing here. That actually legitimately scared me while editing. Holy fucking shit, I expected the whole thing, and it still scared me. The nun is supposed to be a representation of Saint Lucy, a saint who had her eyes removed by the Romans, then soon regrewed thanks to God. Talk about an eye-opening experience. The nun is not only a representation of Saint Lucy, but also a representation of the religious mother, Mother Apollina. I'm calling her Apollina, fuck you. Who is the teacher of the boarding school, or leader of it. Whatever. We will be getting more into Mother Apollina in a minute. For now, let's get into the AI of the nun. The nun's AI is what I like to call clever, because the AI has its way to ambush the player from any corner, adding to the player's paranoia. Whatever room you are in, whatever hallway you're in, you never know if she's right there, waiting for you. Also, the static means she's nearby. But as I said, the nun's white glow is a warning in the dark. A scary warning that you will soon meet your fate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have some good news. The nun has accepted our offer to interview her. So please give a warm welcome to the nun. Hello, nun.
Wees goed, Maria. Vervangen nader de Heer is met u.
It's nice to have you on the show. So, to start off, why is it that you are so... What? Oh, that's how you wanna go, huh? Huh? That's where you wanna go? Okay, come on! Give me your nut ass, huh? Come on! Oh wow, look at you while you're swinging that thing! I fought in a goddamn great many more! Throughout the game, you can find many letters throughout the school. Each letter revealing dark parts of the story. I'm gonna warn you, ladies and gentlemen, this story contains child abuse, sexual assault, and many other dark aspects. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I cannot list out these letters. They are just too dark for me to even handle. So, I would highly recommend to read them yourselves. I will leave a link in the description. And there are some videos in the description that explain it far better than me. So, I apologize, but I'm not comfortable with reading these letters. If you read the letters, they all tell a story. A story that we, as Mrs. McDonald, unfortunately unveil. The letters show that the boarding school was mentally and physically abusive towards Janie, seeming that Janie was the main target for Mother Paulina's punishments. This soon leads to the upcoming truth. When you fall in the pit of barbed wire, the nun will speak to you in Dutch, whispering as she leans in to kill you. This is an audio sample called 3-Man Whispering Praying Dutch .wav. This roughly translates to this. Now, there may not be any symbolic meaning of this prayer towards the game, but from what it looks like Mother Apollina is praying for forgiveness to vanquish evil. Forgiveness from abusing Janie, and vanquishing evil, who is also Janie. I don't know, these are just coming out of my ass, or whatever. The next secret message is within the jump scare sound effect from the nun. The scream inside the jump scare is from a 911 call from a woman named Ruth Price, who had a man break in and strangle her while on call.
This is Ruth Price of 3877. What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, there's some guy been checking the place out. How? Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy. And he comes to my door. Yes? And said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. Mm-hmm. Where is he now, ma'am? I don't have no idea.
For your information, Price survived the attack before succumbing to an illness 14 years later. But it is unsettling that her screams of terror and absolute horror was used in this game. I don't think there was any secret message or symbolism to it. It was just an absolute disturbing fact that I found out. As the player comes closer to the end, we soon find out that Janie had ended her own life. The abuse was too much, and she couldn't handle the suffering. She was free in a way. But the truth of it is found within these two notes from Mother Apollina and Mrs. McDonald herself. Mothers coddle and protect their children. I'm going to save this child, no matter what I have to be. This pain will save my daughter. A good mother knows that. I can give her this discipline, but not as her mother. Her mother will try to protect her from the pain she felt. If I can't save her as a mother, then her mother will have to leave. The sister will have to guide her. This home will be her school. The woman will be her teacher. She'll understand that it's because her mother loves her. It's because God loves her. There is no way to control this child. There's only so much I can be expected to do for her. Mother Apollina would know what to do. She knew that children need discipline and structure. You can't expect that to come on its own. God works through the actions of the faithful, after all. If I can't fix her sinful ways as a mother, then surely a sister can. Fear is so clear a path of righteousness as anything. In these two letters, we find out that Mrs. McDonald, the character that the player is playing as, was behind it all. Mrs. McDonald sent Janie to the boarding school to be disciplined, and in the process, mentally and physically abused her into a bitter fate. This may mean that the nun may just be Mrs. McDonald's hallucinations, her lingering guilt coming to follow her to her soon-to-be death, which lines up with the endings. Our first ending is what I call the bad ending. As Mrs. McDonald goes through some slim vents, she falls into a hole, stuck and unable to escape. As she stays down there even more, the nun peeks in, watching Mrs. McDonald, before vomiting blood onto her, killing her with their Chipotle burrito bloody vomit. So delicious. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be symbolic, like Mrs. McDonald melting her guilt. I don't know. Our next ending is what I call the neutral ending, where you find the two letters that tells the truth of Mother Apollina and Mrs. McDonald. The overwhelming guilt inside Mrs. McDonald causes her to lie in the coffin, dug into the ground, closing herself into the coffin. Hey, get out of here! Anyway, this ending is symbolic in a way, showing that she is not only bearing herself, but her guilt too. The last ending is called the forgiven ending. After going through many bendy vents, Mrs. McDonald finds herself in a room with a smaller nun in a cage, along with Bongo the clown hanging from the ceiling. Mrs. McDonald can hear the small nun sobbing and making noises that sound like a child would make, only to be told by Bongo to not believe her lies. So Mrs. McDonald picks up a jerry can, pours it on the nun, and lights her on fire. The screams of the nun are heard for the last time. As the nun is engulfed in flames, she finally disintegrates into a skeleton. Bongo says to Mrs. McDonald, "You are forgiven." A set of stairs then appear, leading them up to the heavens. This ending has the soul of Janie, forgiving her mother Bongo, finally letting Mrs. McDonald die in peace. Special thanks to Gamersalt and Pat Rat Rick for not only inspiring this episode, but also helping with information from their videos. The videos are very well made and probably do a better job at explaining Nun Massacre than me. There you actually see the letters throughout the game that I couldn't show you because I didn't have the heart to do it. Anyways, I hope you liked this documentary-like video. I really enjoyed making it, and I honestly want to do more in the future. So, if you guys like it, make sure to let me know. And if you guys want me to cover another topic, please let me know as well. Anyway, this is Mr. Doge signing off. Heh, I'm just kidding. I ain't going nowhere. My love for you is just too strong.